Good evening and welcome to the Problem of Being Awake. My name's Ben, I'll be your host. And this video leads on from another I did about how we tend to judge others by their actions and their deeds, but we judge ourselves by our faults. And it's brutally unfair because if we knew all of the faults everyone else had, we wouldn't look at them in the same way. So we've got to find out a way to be kinder on ourselves. And when I made that video, I was in a personally bit of a hole, everybody gets them. I was sort of down, melancholy, feeling a bit, I was listless and I was thinking, and I thought of this idea. And then here's what I did. It's something that I've done. I'm a retired psychologist. Unfortunately, I met with an accident 5 years ago, which has left me with some health issues that I would prefer not to have at my age. I'm only 42, and that's I've got more health issues than I should. I'll leave it there. I've got the videos about that back in time if you want to look. But what I find works really well, and what I find is applicable, is to force certain aspects of positivity out of yourself. And the way there's ways I do that. First I put on a voice recorder, and I start talking about something that doesn't really, it slightly annoys me, but it's not that interesting to me really. And the reason I do that is because what happens is my brain will then go off on tangents that are useful to me and help me think things through or come up with new ideas. It's great for brainstorming new ideas, or if you're stuck on a project or you're writing and you've got writer's block, it's a really good way. Just record what's going on in your head, and your head will direct you eventually on tangents that are very valuable. I call it talking to the world, but the world's not going to listen. Or whispering to the world when the world's not listening to you. Exact. So the other things that I've done to turn a bad state around pretty quickly in kind of a 4 to 48 hour period is I make sure that I overcompensate. So I overdo things. I am extremely polite and very nice to talk to on the phone, and I deliberately deal with issues I need to deal with on the phone, and I make sure I'm very nice to the person I'm speaking to. And then they're very nice back, and it makes for a different conversation than if I wasn't. But I do that because I know that if I try my best to make that person feel good and maybe make them laugh, that's going to have a knock-on benefit for me. And I did it with a few people. Trans forward 24 hours, it did have a knock-on benefit. The other things that I do are around music. Anything to do with music and laughter releases lots of positive chemicals in your brain. But the top end is singing or dancing. And then you go humming and tapping your feet. Well, not quite, but so it's singing, whistling, humming, and that's it. But singing in the shower every morning is a fantastic way to start your day because it's good acoustics. You can sing your heart out, and you'll really pump yourself full of great neurological chemicals that will work for you during that day. And that's how the brain makes, or the mind has good or bad days. It's a balance of the chemicals it releases into the nervous system. And the other thing that I do is I make sure I pack in some really like some weightlifting or something that's very strenuous, so that my body feels like it's had a workout. And even though I don't want to do it, I do it almost in an angry way. But by the end of it, I feel a certain level of satisfaction and tiredness, and my body feels a bit better. Um, and then I make sure to go out of my way to try and help someone in my family who's close to me, with anything. And if I'm having a bad day, I try and focus that. I have to recognize that, and there are limitations some days. You can't always do this sort of strategy, but let's say you have 2 or 3 bad days. On the fourth day, you can employ the strategy. successfully. You might fail on a day or two, but that doesn't matter. It's all about keeping it going. If you're extra nice, extra helpful, extra kind, the language in your head will be a reflection of the kindness and the helpfulness and the attitude you've shown during that day. And the language in our head is what defines our lived experience. It really is the most important thing in our lives. It's how we make sense of the world. If it wasn't for the language in our head, we'd have no communication. It's not the words we use that we use to make sense of the world, although the trick does work because no one's listening, so they're your words and they're personal. But when it comes to actually relating to people, it's the way you feel that will dictate generally the internal thoughts that you have. And if they're very self-critical, as we all are, and the reason I named this the person I dislike myself most in the world is myself, is because I think that's probably true of everybody deep down at some level. And some people are more aware of how their subconscious works. It's like 15 million times to 7 times more powerful than your conscious brain. But everyone I've taught these techniques to over the years has benefited from them. Now, I'm humble enough to admit I still need to do these techniques. And in the other video, I mentioned another one, but it's worked out very quickly, and I can say exactly what I did. And the other thing I did in terms of dancing was I started moving around with grace, placing my feet and my hands, economic movement, but with grace. So almost like you're dancing, you're walking in a dance, and you're deliberately trying to sort of look elegant and when you're walking, and even a bit sort of flary, and that has a real effect on the human psyche. So all of those put together will make for a very good day. So if you're having a bad day, or you're having a bad period, or you're having a bad month, even, whatever it is, these things do work. Some days you don't have the energy to apply them, but on the days that you do, they always work. So these are just exercises that I would suggest that you could use, or anyone can use when they're having a bad time, to be kinder to themselves and make sure that the language in your head is purer and kinder and more optimistic, and that means a better mental health life overall. So I think I'll leave it there. Great talking to you as always. Thanks for your support, and please do like, comment, share, and you can be lucky this week, I think, and I'll just try and be good. How's that sound? Speak to you soon.